So let's get started. The normal homeschooler. This is the kind of homeschooler that all homeschoolers think they are, but you're actually one of the other 9. The sheltered homeschooler. This type of homeschooler is what most people think about when they hear the word homeschooler.
Hey, do you want to go see a movie?
I can't. I'm not allowed.
Oh, well, I didn't even tell you what movie I wanted to see.
I said I'm not allowed! And the rest of the homeschoolers are like, no, stop, we're not all like that. Which leads to the next one, the defensive homeschooler. This is a homeschooler that's always apologizing for homeschooling. So what school do you go to?
Oh, I'm homeschooled, but I'm not one of the weird ones, I promise.
The quirky homeschooler. This is that homeschooler that prides themselves in their individuality by wearing mismatching socks or really bright outfits or lots of accessories. Just anything that they can possibly do to stand out from the crowd. They wear the badge of homeschooling proudly. So where do you go to school?
Oh, I don't go to school. School is for suckers. I'm a homeschooler. Homeschooling's awesome. Homeschooling is the best.
The political activist homeschooler. You should probably go ahead and hide this homeschooler on Facebook right now because 2016 is right around the corner, my friends. The non-religious homeschooler. Yes, a good chunk of the homeschooling population is of the church-going persuasion, but there are plenty of people who just decided to homeschool. Oh, so you're homeschooled too?
Yeah, I am.
What denomination are you?
What?
The gaming homeschooler. Lots and lots and lots of Minecraft. The hippie homeschooler. Non-GMO, certified organic, no preservatives, no artificial flavors, grass-fed, free-range, locally grown, raw. Hey, do you want to go get some takeout? Are you trying to kill me?
No.
I get my food from the dirt in my garden. End of discussion. Full disclosure, this is the type of homeschooler that I am. The reluctant homeschooler. This is the kid whose parents are forcing him or her to be homeschooled. At co-op, they don't talk to anyone. They don't go to any homeschooling events. Overall, they just come across like they're so much better. Even though we all know that their parents didn't decide to pull them out of school, they got kicked out. The rebellious homeschooler. This is that kid who comes from a kind of strict home, so they try to act out. Except it's like a sheltered version of acting out. Like, they think that they're being super rebellious, but by most standards, they're still like pretty decent kids. So they might dye their hair or change their wardrobe to match their new and improved personality. They might even start talking about a tattoo that they're totally gonna get. Pretty much the definition of talking a big game.
I've just become really open-minded over the last year.
Okay.
Like, I even say bad words now.
Cool.
Not just the ones that you can say on TV either, like the really bad ones, the ones they bleep out.
So there you go, the 10 types of homeschoolers. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a garden to tend to. I just don't trust grocery stores, okay? Do some research.
Okay, and we're back. So obviously some stereotypical things, if you've been in the homeschooling world for any length of time, a lot of those things will sound familiar. And if you haven't been, you might have heard of some of those things or thought some of those yourself. So just kind of a fun video that I discovered that made me chuckle at myself, and it's good to laugh at ourselves. The first thing I want to ask you is why you're homeschooling. And I think that there are obvious answers due to the current climate that we're in, but there are some deep thoughts about this as well. So if you guys want to jump in on the chat a little bit, I'd love to see just initially why each of you are on this homeschooling journey.
Moving to Cambodia. I'm too lazy to get up and take my kids to school in the morning. I was homeschooled as a kid and had a good experience, like the flexibility, freedom of what our kids learn, safety, choice in what we do and when. I love to stay connected and where my kids are. Love being with my kiddos. In order to be free to go overseas, need that flexibility. Traveled for 20 months. Unique opportunity to grow closer to my oldest kids as my wife grows her home business. Again, freedom to what our kids learn. Always wanted to. With COVID, straw broke the camel's back, so not sure what, mainly I want to be able to know for sure what my kids are exposed to. I'm a poquito loco.
Jonathan, I think we all are. I can relate to that, definitely. I love those answers. I think, as Deborah mentioned, I was homeschooled growing up from kindergarten, actually, all the way through almost all of my high school as well. And so I just grew up thinking that this is the most normal thing in the world, and I was just going to go ahead and do it. And of course, I didn't want my kids being influenced, and so, wrongly influenced in public school. So I was just going to do this. And also because I thought, what better way to get them to obey and listen to you than to have them with you all the time. And then I had my own children, and reality, sunk in, and I realized what a superhero my mom really was, that it's not easy. And it does require us to be a little bit crazy, I think, Jonathan, to even consider the idea of doing something like this. So I really appreciated hearing your answers. And Meg Clark, I'll have to talk with you later. My daughter actually lives in Cambodia and is home for a few weeks and is on her way back. So I will be curious to talk with you and see what you guys are going to be doing in Cambodia. So we have all kinds of different reasons and things that are important to us and regarding our families. And I think obviously we're all a part of Parents Challenge, which sets us a little bit apart in the sense that we're all a little bit more intentional. We really are caring about the kind of education that our children are receiving, and we want to be involved. And that is the heartbeat of Parents Challenge too, is for parents to get involved. And so I love that affirmation and the confirmation from you guys. So sometimes we start out doing things like this for what sounds like good reasons, but really are not the right reasons in the end. And I think that was my story, and maybe some of you resonate, as I really thought, there are things that I could do. There's academics. I want to keep my kids, safe. But that has changed over the years of actually homeschooling my kids and realizing that there is more to raising kids than academics. There's more to teaching them to behave correctly. And there are heart issues and character building things that trump all of that. And by having the opportunity to work with them and encourage them and support them each day and have conversations and walk through everything that happens, we are in a really, really unique place to do that character building because it's so much more hands-on. And I realized over the years that I made that gradual shift from thinking I was doing it for academics and behavioral reasons to really, I wanted to reach their hearts, and I wanted them to be the kind of people that would be filled with integrity and not just know how to behave well. From the inside out, want them to be people of good character and leaders. And we see as our community seems to be so deteriorating, our not just personal communities, but as a nation and as a world, we see, I think, even the greater importance of raising kids who we can pass the baton to, who can be leaders in times of crisis and in times of uncertainty, and be able to speak, be able to stand for truth, be able to have the intelligence and the personalities to deal with the unknown. And I love that we can do that with them on a daily basis. And one of the things that is important for homeschoolers, no matter who you are and where you are, is your family culture. And I talk to a lot of parents that are wanting to homeschool and they ask me questions, and how do you do it? And what should I do? And it doesn't take you long to talk to somebody to realize that what they're describing to you feels overwhelming. And you think, I don't know if I can do it like you, or you feel I should be doing it like you, and then you can't. And so I think one of the things that we need to understand is that we all are so unique as individuals, but then as family units. And so one of the things that really needs to be taken into account and into consideration as families in general, but especially as homeschool families, is what is your family culture? And family culture involves personalities and interests, the home of the dad and the home of the mom, and how you were raised and what you're bringing to your family, and the belief system, your worldview. All of those things make up your family culture, and it makes you unique from everybody else, just like we talk about cultures of different countries. And there are special things that make that very unique, each country from another. And so as families, our homes are also very unique in how we do things and how we approach things. But sometimes we don't notice that and we don't pay attention to what that is. And so one of the first things I would recommend to you, whether you are existing homeschooling families or whether this is a new year, is to discover what your family culture is. And the easiest way to discover it is in a not so easy way, because it requires some effort, is to study your family. Spend time noticing what you do during meal times, what you talk about during meal times. What does your family enjoy doing? Do you enjoy taking walks? Do you enjoy playing games? Do you enjoy watching movies together? How did each of your kids learn? What are the different learning styles? What are the different approaches? And that's a little bit different for each child, but there's still this umbrella over our families. And so I'd encourage you to take some time to really invest in studying your family culture, in studying your children. And as you begin to realize those things, start jotting some notes down. This is what we like. This is how we do things. This is how we talk. This is how we relate. And as you start getting a picture for what your family, country, culture looks like, you can begin to see what your homeschooling culture can look like, which is going to be different from mine and different from your friend, different from another family member. And it's what makes this very unique and special to your own family experience. Did anybody get a chance to take the quiz that Deborah sent out the link for of the homeschool learning style? So if you guys wouldn't mind just typing in what you came out to be. I came out to be the Charlotte Mason style, which surprised me a little bit. I know I have some tendencies in that direction, but not as much as I thought. So that is interesting for me. Okay, so we've got any others then? Okay, so good. I don't think that was a style, the procrastination style. That it's not a good one. So what I wanted to do was to take a few minutes to do breakout groups based on what your teaching style is, your family's teaching style is, and to allow you guys just talk a little bit. What does that look like on a daily basis in your home? When you say more the unschooler or unit studies, share some ideas, do some networking, and share some resources and creativity with each other on that. So Deborah, I don't know how at this point, and can I put the link in the chat for those who didn't get it? How does that work?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we're going to put you in breakouts for about 5 to 7 minutes. And what's the question you want them to work on?
I want you to share what you guys are doing in your homeschool and ask each other any questions that you might have, any places you might be stuck right now and needing some feedback from somebody else on who has similar ideas and like-minded. It's always a great place to start.
Okay. Okay, everybody is back. So let's see. So from the Charlotte group, who would like to report out?
I think I was nominated. I'm not sure.
Sounds good, Kim.
Great. So what are you wanting us to share at this point?
I would just kind of love to hear maybe some of the top ideas that you guys talked about, or discoveries that you made about similarities or differences in the way that you're approaching your Charlotte Mason style.
All right. Well, one of our fun pieces of conversation was Meg, who is new and is headed over to Cambodia. So it's a whole new time for her to jump into this program. It sounds like all of us use something very similar when it comes to our curriculum styles. And actually, several of us have kids right around the same age with a few years of experience in using kind of a Charlotte Mason classical approach to what we do.
Good.
So can you share, just because others don't have that same style, what's unique about that style?
A lot of it is living history books. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, on anything I'm sharing. A lot of it is learning through living history. It could be historical fiction, much more of a literacy-based program as an approach for, and it's normally holistic and wrapping around multiple subjects. It's not just teaching science or teaching history. It would normally have a connection and a fluidity to it between the subjects that we're teaching.
Good. Thank you, Kimberly.
All right. Traditional, who is going to share?
That would be me.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my son just walked up to me crying because his bottom hurt and he wanted me to kiss it. He fell. Sorry. Malachi, you have to, Malachi, go to Baba. I'm sending him to his dad. Sorry. So we were just talking about, we're not really sure what the common theme that put us all in traditional was, except maybe the fact that we all like workbooks. And so we just shared the different things that people are using and why they've chosen different curriculums. We talked about, I guess some of it was switching curriculums, how sometimes that's hard, sometimes it's best, why they would switch, pros and cons of online. It's just a lot of, yeah, I think we covered a lot of different topics.
Okay. All right. The Unschooler group.
I don't think we decided on who would speak, but I guess I can go ahead and go. What's unique about unschooling? The unschooling style is you really focus on your child's interests and the curiosities. It's kind of like Montessori where, or maybe it's Reggio, really. I kind of get those two mixed up. You focus more on your children driving like their path of learning. It's not really defined by any curriculum or anything, so to speak, but parents solely trust like their children's ability to just gain knowledge organically. But what we really talked about was more so me getting started as a home, or me and my husband getting started as homeschooling parents, because this is our first year on this journey. And Susan and her husband shared a lot of insight on their journey as homeschoolers and some support links and things like that.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we have a classical, and I can't remember the other name that we had. So who's going to speak for that group?
I'm going to speak. It was a unit study in classical. So
Okay.
We talked a lot about kind of thinking outside the box a lot. I think both of us were kind of out of the box thinkers. So we used a Mod Podge of curriculum sometimes, and kind of depending on the child, depends on the way that they learn, depends on what kind of curriculum or what kind of books that we use, which actually I don't even use. I don't think either one of us really use a lot of curriculum. I think that there was some classical conversations that have been used, but like for the most part, just kind of a Mod Podge of curriculum is in unit studies. I do a lot of unit studies, and but yeah, that's basically what we talked about.
All right, thank you, and welcome. This
Thank
is a new
you.
family for us, just joining us. Okay, and let's see. Then we have the homeschooling group, and what did you guys talk about? Who was your person to speak?
What, am I in that group, Deborah? We forgot
Yes.
group
Yes,
title.
Jonathan, you're in that group.
Our discussion was so deep. No, what was unique in our group is that 3 of us had all been involved in a hybrid school before, where they meet 3 days a week for in-class learning and 2 days of homeschooling. But of the 3, myself and another family have gone to completely homeschooling. So we were kind of comparing experiences from what we knew before at the university school to what we know now, just comparing those. And then there was another family that was very of the unschooling mindset. So we were just kind of comparing notes on those experiences. And then one of the families was asking specifically struggles with her son and his lack of interest. So we were just brainstorming and sharing different experiences and ideas on how to help with her son, who seems to show a lack of interest. And so it was fruitful.
Okay. All right, Relina.
Well, thank you guys. I loved hearing all of that. And other than the fact that it was like, I felt like a super creepy stalker lady coming in and out of the rooms. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm just appearing and disappearing. So anyway, I'm sorry if it seemed creepy to everybody else, but it was fun to hear your discussions and your excitement for what you're doing. And then just now to hear just even more feedback. So what I want you to get from that is a couple of things. And one, there is not a right way or a wrong way to homeschool. And every way has its pros and its cons, and every way can be done better. And what I mean by that is that each year, and I've been involved in the homeschooling world now for almost 40 years, but each year, I always seek to, how can I do this better? How can I learn and grow from what we've done? How do I want to continue moving forward? And what things do I need to put in place to do that? And that mentality can be for any homeschool approach that you use, is to be willing to learn and to grow and to seek how you can do better, how you can help your kids do better. And I just loved all of those different ideas. So that's one thing that I want everybody to see and understand, because I feel like in all of my years of being involved in this, you hear a lot of, well, this is how we homeschool. Oh, they homeschool that way. And there can be that divisiveness when really it's about our heart for our family and our homes, and for raising children who are going to be people of integrity and are going to be bold and standing for truth and what they believe in, and have the ability to do those things. And we want to support them and stand behind them. And how we do that is going to look a little bit different, and we can support each other in that effort. And then the second thing I want you to see from that too is that while we can definitely appreciate and should support and encourage each other in these different approaches, it's really difficult to build really tight community with a lot of varied kinds of homeschooling. So for instance, if you're wanting to do homeschooling with another family, or help each other with some classes, it really is much more helpful to connect with a like-minded family, because you'll find that the path forward is going to be not only easier, but with the relationship building portion and the passion and the energy that happens is going to be a lot healthier than if you are, with a classical homeschooler and an unschooler. It's really difficult to find common ground to build on, to actually build community and relationships, and a way to do some things school-wise together. So for instance, I have one friend who we have a lot of common ground as far as what our priorities are, what our worldview systems are, how we want to raise our kids, but the how we do that is very different. And I am a planner, and I like to have lists and write things down and have things coordinated and organized, and she is not at all. So we have discovered that it's difficult sometimes to get together and to do things, because she'll call and she'll say, can we get together today? And I'm like, no, not today. I have this, everything is all mapped out, and I'm really serious about our academics and our time together and how we approach our day. And so I have been encouraging her inadvertently, I think, to be a little bit more organized and scheduled. And she is encouraging me to learn how to be a little bit more flexible and spontaneous, but it doesn't work really well like if we wanted to do something together each week, just because our approaches are so very different. And meanwhile, I have another friend that we knew each other before we had kids, and we discovered as our kids were small that we just had very, very similar ideas about how we wanted to do this. And the heart for her is the same, the heart for my other friend, all similar hearts, but the approach and the how differ. So for my one friend, we have actually really homeschooled together and raised our kids together for over 20 years. And that is just a whole different experience. And I know that those are hard to construct and fabricate if they happen more naturally. But if you can be on the lookout for those things, and really now we have this COVID thing, as if it wasn't hard enough to be parents and figure out what is the best schooling for our kids and what are the best activities for our kids and how can I be a good parent and have energy and stamina and all of those things. Now we have this whole big thing that is very much a part of all of our days and lives that can make things just even more stressful and even more challenging with more hurdles that we need to jump as we're figuring things out. And so one of the things that I've been learning through this and I've been feeling is so crucial is that we have gotten to a place as an American culture where we are so dependent on a lot of outside sources to run our homes, whether those are media and technology things, or we have co-ops and cottage schools and sports programs and music programs. And we learned that really quickly from one day to the next, all of those things can be gone. And it really rocks our world to realize that everything we counted on and everything we were planning for and what felt like our foundation had now disappeared. And that really has gotten me to thinking that we have to live differently. We have to choose to have our resources be more sustainable. And while you can't do that 100%, it has gotten me thinking about our home and how can we run things from our home when all of those things are taken away like we've experienced this year. And just this evening, Deborah told you there were technical difficulties, and our technical difficulty was I went to get on my computer tonight and get onto Zoom at 5:30 to log in and work with Deborah and figure things out. And our whole internet in my house was absolutely shut down. And this does not happen. I mean, we have one computer that's really sketchy, but the big computer and my phone are always really trustworthy and reliable. And all the internet was down. It was so frustrating. And I'm trying to figure this out, but it really played into what I was thinking about for this evening. We can't count on that. And so if you are relying on all online classes, or if you are using a cottage school as the foundation for your homeschool, or if your co-op is your everything, or if you are depending on all of your activities through the week to get you through, then we are now putting ourselves in a very bad place to not be sustainable and to be in a place where we have nothing when things are uncertain and things fall through like they have. And so how do you handle that? What do we do when our resources are gone? And you can get online, as most of you have done, and you Google things, and there's a lot of ideas and there are a lot of resources. So I just want to encourage you that you are your own best resource and that you are your best advocate for your family. And it takes more intentionality and it takes more work and purpose than when you can just sign them up for a program. And while we do use all of those things, and those are wonderful things, depending on them is a danger to our home and to what we're doing. So as we are beginning this new school year, and we're obviously all thinking differently because we have no choice but to think differently, how can you construct your home and your homeschool day with all of the different learning styles and all of the different family cultures that you've talked about tonight, and make that your sustenance so that you are not dependent on all of the things we have grown so used to. So that requires maybe for some of you to make some changes in actually what you're doing. For some of you, it might just be a perspective shift in the emphasis of you are your child's teacher, you are their parent, you are their advocate, you are their resource. And that can be so overwhelming, but it can also be so freeing when all of those other things that we have been counting on don't come through in the way we were hoping or expecting. And so what does that look like? So when I say you're your own best resource, being able to connect with other people like we did tonight and exchange ideas, find ways that you can support and encourage each other, share about some creativity, or what curriculums are you using, or is there something that we can do together? Oh, you're great at science and I love English. Could we meet once a week and help each other do those things? So I think that in our country, we have gotten so large scale about a lot of things. It's grown so complex that, you just pull one thread and it all unravels. If we can learn how to bring it down to a simpler level and to something that is doable and manageable on a one-to-one, family-to-family, small group, conversational basis, you're going to find that focus is going to be more freeing when it comes to the end of the year. And then when you have the opportunity for an activity, it becomes what it should be from the beginning, something enriching, something extra, something that's going to enhance and support what you're already doing for your kids, instead of you supporting and enhancing the program, the activity. And so it's really just a perspective shift that I've been going through as well. And I'm sure in varying levels, you guys have all been experiencing some of those things. So I just want to encourage you to go with it, to own it, to make every day the best day that it can be without depending on all of those external resources. So when the Zoom doesn't work and when the library is closed, tapping into what your family culture is and those closer relationships with others and connecting with them to find out how we can do this better, how we can get through this, how we can be our own resource and advocates for our children in a world that's really gone mad. So our family culture is that we absolutely love books, we love board games, we like to be outside and to take walks. And so when the library closed, that was a really, really bad thing. And if you use the library, and we happen to here in Colorado Springs have an amazing library system. I mean, it's so easy to get books on anything that you're looking for. So I've had to approach that differently. And we do have books on our own shelf. So it's caused us to revisit things we already have. But sometimes you just get used to finding those new things and you don't pay attention to what you already have in your home and your own resources. And I think we all have more under our own roofs than what we think. And so you tap into some of those resources. For us, it means we've been sharing books with friends and, oh, I've got this book and can we borrow this book? And so doing those kinds of things. I've even thought, have you guys seen those little library box houses that some people have in front of their homes? And, you put books in there and they put books in there. I absolutely love that idea. And so now I've been thinking about it more seriously. Is that a way that we could connect more with our neighbors and bless each other and find out who else has a love for books and reading? And so that's just one little thing that means a lot to our family that I'm learning to be creative in. And now the library's opened again, thank the Lord, but who knows how long that will be. And I don't want to become dependent on that as my source for where I'm finding all of the books we're supposed to read this year. And I'm trying to have plan B, plan C, and be thinking about all of those facets. So I just encourage you to talk with people, find out what other people are doing. Sometimes we're reluctant to share too much or tap in too much. And I think that's going to be our greatest resource is each other and our homes. And so I really want to encourage you to do that and to really think through which ones are the best for your family. How do your kids learn? What's important to you guys? Find those values, find your family culture, and then really own it. Make it happen each day. Be willing to make sacrifices to make those things happen. And that's something, I know that that's hard, and I don't say that lightly, but there's a lot of me time. You hear that phrase, I need some me time. And I think that that's a faulty perspective for us as parents, because when we choose to be parents, sometimes I guess we didn't choose, but when we're parents now, we need to embrace it. And it's not about me anymore. And that does not mean that you never enjoy things or be intentional about refilling and refreshing your own soul. It's just a perspective shift about, I am here for these little people to be the best mom or dad that I can be, to help them grow, to help them learn, to help them understand what's happening in the world around us, and to walk that journey together as a family. And I will tell you right now that, especially those of you with younger kids, it passes so quickly. And I know you hear people say that, but it really, really does. My oldest just got married last month, and my second lives overseas most of the time. And I realize now that there are so many things that I rushed through with them, and that I just wanted to get done and just wanted to check off the list and wanted to make sure that we were getting things done academically and that they were doing everything they're supposed to do. And there were moments I missed out on that could have been precious and beautiful and would have been more memorable than making sure I was checking all of the boxes. So just to really encourage you guys to focus on the hearts of your children and about mentoring them. And if they graduate high school and they did not make it all the way through Algebra 1, but they know who they are, and they know that they have value, and that they know that they have things to contribute, and they have tools to do so, they can communicate, and they have a good and healthy worldview, and they know how to relate to people, and they can be leaders. That's much more important in the end. And I did not always see that, because it was very crucial for me to get my kids through academics first. So make their hearts your first priority, and have the academics come along and support you, and have friends come along and support you. And if you are having trouble finding friends or a community, then I would encourage you to be the initiator of that. You reach out to somebody else that maybe is a new homeschooler, or you reach out to somebody that you know is maybe doing something in a similar way, but they haven't approached you. Sometimes we wait and we want somebody to ask us to do things or to share things, and maybe it needs to be you, and you can be the initiator and the one that's inviting people to do those things. So in conclusion, I have another funny little video for you guys, just because I think, as I said at the beginning, we have to laugh. It's the world right now, always, but it feels like particularly right now is so serious. Half the time it feels like we're at the end of the world. And we have to be able to smile and laugh, give thanks and choose joy each day, and incorporate your kids into that. Share with them, learn, grow together, and embrace the family culture that you have, and know and love that it's unique to your family and it's special to your family, and you're giving something very, very precious and lasting to your kids. So I'm gonna jump over.
Relina, before you go to that, they wanted to know, what was your homeschool style?
My own, according to the quiz, was Charlotte Mason. And I am very books and living history and learning things that way. But I would also say, even though the quiz didn't reflect that, I do enjoy a lot of classical things. I just have gone, that's how we started. Our homeschool journey was very classical, but I've gone away from some of that a little bit because it started feeling very rigid, which is my natural personality. But as I have grown and matured as an adult, I'm less rigid, and realized that was, for my older two, they were doing it at the time, it was just very difficult for them, and my relationship with them and what our objectives were each day. And so it's just kind of, I feel like, morphed and transformed through the years. And now I just do a lot of different things. I don't know, does that answer the question?
Yes, yes.
Were there any other questions before I show you the video? Okay. And if you did have questions afterwards, I would encourage you to exchange email addresses or cell phone numbers and be in touch with each other. I'm always available. I don't know everything. I don't claim to be an expert, but I'm always happy to talk to people and to help you guys troubleshoot things and give you feedback and, come up with ideas together, and offer you whatever ideas I might have in my brain that feels like the cells have been dying over all these these years of parenting. But I'm always willing to help and offer what I can. And you can always get my contact information from Deborah. But we'll go out with a bang and some laughter. You guys might be familiar with, let me come back here. This comedian, and he just posted this. I just saw it yesterday.
Okay, I'm just out here on my daily walk because that's apparently the only thing we're allowed to do anymore these days. And people ask me John, how are you doing? John, are you surviving the quarantine? And I'm like, it's a little disrespectful because I was homeschooled. How am I surviving quarantine? The same way I survived my entire childhood. John, you're not going to be able to see any of your friends, and the only people you can spend time with is your family. Oh, that sounds very familiar. Listen, it's very important to stay inside. Maybe once a day you can go for a walk or a bike ride. Oh, you mean my entire life from age 7 to 14? Listen, John, no one's going to be able to go to work, and you have to use your imagination to come up with things to do all day. My mom told me and my little brother Joe that when I was in 6th grade, we had a bike ramp and a treehouse built by noon. John, we don't know how to greet people anymore. Do we shake hands? Do we fist pump? Do we hug? What do we do? It's uncomfortable. Yeah, welcome to my entire life and every social interaction I've ever had as a homeschooler. I've never known how to greet people. I'm just saying, don't ask any homeschooler if they're hanging in there okay during the quarantine. It's a little disrespectful to the coping mechanisms we all learned as kids. Restart the economy. Has anyone asked the homeschoolers? I had a thriving lemonade stand when I was 6. John, listen, just pretend that everyone has a really dangerous disease and you could contract it if you get close to them. Oh, like how I believe the girls had cooties until I was 14? Done. Shelter in place is going to be extended for another 2 weeks. Fine. Tell any homeschool kid that, they'd be like, dude, 2 weeks? That's 6 Nancy Drew books and a season of Adventures in Odyssey. John, this is a very harsh reality we're living in. Dude, I'm not even here. I'm homeschooled. I'm in the imagination station with Connie Kendall. But John, all my favorite restaurants are closed. Restaurants? Dude, I was homeschooled. We don't eat out. I was one of 8 kids. We went to Taco Bell once. The bill was $127. How you doing? You know where we ate? At home. My mom just made food appear from nothing. She was a wizard. Not that we support wizards, though. We weren't allowed to watch Harry Potter. Dude, literally give my mother a bag of rice, some chicken broth, and 2 cans of tomato soup. She will make you the entire Cheesecake Factory menu. Everyone's all stressed out like, John, I just don't know if I can trust the government. Yeah, that's literally why my parents decided to homeschool. We ain't trusted the government since day one. Listen, I get it. It's cool to make fun of homeschoolers. I've done it too, but look around. Homeschoolers are crushing it. Have you been to a Chick-fil-A drive-thru recently? These things are run by homeschoolers. They got 3 wide in the drive-thru, dealing boxes of nuggets like it's a scene from Breaking Bad. They got homeschool Heisenberg in the kitchen dropping fries while Jesse Pinkman's sending everybody off with a box of chicken and a My Pleasure, knowing that they're going to be back in the morning for more. John, what about social distancing? Dude, I got a Rubik's Cube for my 10th birthday. I social distanced in the basement for 4 months trying to figure that thing out. We're trying to find a vaccine. Okay, has anyone asked the homeschool moms about this? My Aunt Margaret had an essential oil combination that cured this back in April. I don't even want to hear about a mask shortage, dude. As a homeschooler, that would have been our arts and crafts project on day one. You know who was homeschooled? George Washington, Ben Franklin, Albert Einstein. You know who wasn't homeschooled? Fauci. John, this is a great opportunity to really get to know your neighbors. Oh, you mean the only people that I was allowed to socialize with growing up? 4 months into quarantine, John, are you doing okay? Oh, you mean the first 14 years of my life? Yeah, I'm good. John, listen, are you surviving the coronavirus pandemic of 2020? I survived the homeschool pandemic of the 90s. I'll be just fine.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome.
Well, enjoy. Keep it light and simple. Love your kids well. Thank you for letting me share with you guys.
Thanks for Lena. Let's give her some hand claps. Go to your reaction buttons and give her some hand claps.
Thank you.